Hey everyone, this is BlackhawkSC and welcome back to my channel. Maybe you've heard of the term skirmishing being used before in MWO, but you only have a vague idea of what it really is. Well, in this video I'm going to explain what exactly is skirmishing and under what conditions you can use it in your games. The first time I've heard skirmishing being used to describe a playstyle was on G-Man's MetaMech site. I don't know if that site was the first to use that term, but because of how popular MetaMech was, I'm sure a lot of people got the term first from there. In my earlier videos, I've also used the word striker or striking to reference the same thing. To be clear, skirmishing is not really a build type. It's a playstyle that can work with multiple kinds of builds, even those that use ACs or UACs, but can't boat enough of them to achieve a high damage per second value without supplemental weapons. Skirmishing sort of sits in between two more familiar playstyles, poking or peeking, and brawling. Peeking is where you position your mech near cover, expose just the set of weapons you want to fire, and get back to cover usually after a single alpha. Normally this is done at mid to long ranges, but it can be done at low mid range as well, like with IS medium lasers. The objective of your peek is to damage an enemy mech without taking much return fire due to your limited exposure, and typically you're not killing a fresh mech outright. A good peek mech has good hardpoint locations, for example the Hunchback 2CA, which only needs to expose the upper third of its torso to do most of its damage output. Peek mechs don't rely as much on durability to survive, just good use of its hardpoints, positioning, and awareness. Brawling is always done at low range. Your objective isn't just to damage but to kill off an enemy you're engaging, and this can take 10 seconds or even longer. The way a brawl mech mitigates this return fire is to kill off an enemy as soon as possible using a high burst damage loadout, for example in the case of a mech like the Huntsman Paquette, or have the durability to survive return fire, like the case of the Atlas. For many mechs that don't have the hardpoints to peek effectively, nor the burst DPS and durability of brawl builds, they can often fit into the striker or skirmisher role. Skirmishing usually takes place at mid to short range, just out of brawl distance. The engagement time sits in between the single alpha of a peek build and the 10 to 20 second duels of a brawl. You're looking to do as much damage as possible within roughly 5 seconds, preferably from an angle that the enemy isn't expecting to be attacked from. Another good way to use a skirmisher is to support friendlies that are already engaged. While you are relying on others to draw initial fire, you're presenting another target to the enemy so that your friendly doesn't get focused on. Against relatively healthy enemies, you need to try to get back to cover when they start returning fire. Even still, you will be expected to take some damage because unlike peeking, you're fully exposed with your mech, which makes it take longer to get back to safety. On the other hand, you may have enough time to do more than a single alpha in exchange for your longer exposure time. In order to survive, skirmisher mechs rely on either speed to take as little damage as possible, such as in the case of the Black Lantern, which I will be covering in a future video, or moderate durability, such as with the Executioner shown here. Because you do end up taking return fire without necessarily killing a mech in return, skirmishing has never been the most effective playstyle at any point in the history of MWO. On the other hand, it's still the best option for a lot of mechs in the game, and it should be preferred over forcing a meta build and playstyle on a mech that is not meant to carry that type of payload. Let's take a look at an actual example in the awesome 9M. With this mech, we can eliminate missile-focused builds right away. It can't boat a sufficient number of LRMs to be a good LRM platform. MRMs use too many slots, and it can only fit 2 SRM4s and a single SRM6, which isn't sufficient for any kind of brawl build. Even with supplemental lasers, the 9M wouldn't have much more brawl firepower than the medium, with the agility of an assault, so it's not a good use of tonnage. A peak-focused loadout on the 9M would be something like ERPPCs and some lasers, and since the 9M is quirked to use ERPPCs, that build and playstyle seems to make sense. However, the IS ERPPC has the worst damage to heat ratio of any weapon in the game other than flamers, and really is one of the worst weapons in the game. Even with the quirks, triple ERPPCs generate so much heat and dual ERPPCs do so little damage that peaks are not really worth exposing so much surface area for. Similarly, a triple LPL or large laser poke has the damage output of a medium, like the Centurion AL. Only by using all of its hardpoints can we output a respectable amount of damage for an 80-tonner assault, so we'll be using this LPL ERML combo. However, because the hardpoints span the width of the mech and are not high mounted, trying to peek would result in massive amounts of return fire. Skirmishing, as I mentioned, uses good angles of attack and play the direct fire support role to take a reduced amount of damage, which the 9M can handle. Okay guys, I hope this tutorial has been helpful. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Share with people who you think would find my content useful, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.